You ever have one of those days where you feel like you're just running on autopilot? You know, from the way you make your coffee to the route you take to work, our lives are packed with things we do without even thinking. Well, those are our habits, and they're like the invisible architects of our daily lives. So let's get right into the science of how they really work, and more importantly, how you can start taking control.
Okay, get ready for this number. Researchers have found that 43% of our daily actions, they aren't conscious choices at all. That's wild, right? Almost half of your day, every single day, is just run by your habits. So what is a habit anyway?
Think of a habit as a mental shortcut. It's a behavior that you've done so many times that your brain just goes, yep, I got this, and runs the program automatically. It does this to save energy, which is super efficient. It's why you can drive home and suddenly think, wait, I don't even remember the last 5 miles. That was your brain on autopilot.
And you know, this idea isn't new at all. The brilliant psychologist William James said this way back in 1890. He was basically saying we are our habits, that these automatic routines are a core part of who we are. So the big question is, how does the brain actually build them?
Okay, so this is where it gets really cool. Our brains are incredibly smart, and they have this secret blueprint for creating habits. It's a specific process that works the same way every single time. And the secret ingredient, it's just repetition. That's it. Every single time you do something in the same situation, you're strengthening the connections in your brain for that action. It's kind of like trying to walk through a dense forest. The first time is tough, right? You're pushing through branches, but keep walking that same path.
So this whole process boils down to a 4-step loop. This is the engine behind every habit you have. First, there's a cue. That's the trigger. It tells your brain, hey, it's time to run that program. That cue creates a craving. Now this is key. You're not craving the habit itself, but the feeling or reward it brings. Then comes the behavior, the actual action. And finally, you get the reward, which tells your brain, awesome, that was good, let's remember this loop for next time.
So, the big question, how long does it take to form a habit? You've probably heard a number thrown around. Well, a famous study found that the average is about 66 days. But look at that range. It could be as short as 18 days or as long as 254. The point is, there's no magic number. It really depends on you and what you're trying to do. It's all about consistency.
Right, so obviously not all habits are good for us. The brain's autopilot system doesn't really care if a habit helps you or hurts you. It just cares about efficiency.
And this brings us to 2 big categories. First, you've got keystone habits. These are amazing. They're the good habits that create this positive ripple effect in your life. And then you have the other kind, the undesirable habits we all know and wish we could get rid of.
A perfect example of a keystone habit is exercise. People who start exercising often just naturally start eating better and being more productive without even trying. Now compare that to something like procrastination or a nervous habit like nail biting, which is really just your brain's automatic and not so helpful response to stress.
Okay, so now for the part you've been waiting for. How do we actually change things?
We know how habits are built, so we can use that same blueprint to rebuild them. The cool part is, you don't have to fight your brain. You just have to work with it.
So yeah, how do you change a bad habit? One that feels totally automatic, totally out of your control? The answer is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful.
The golden rule here is you don't eliminate a bad habit, you replace it. The trick is to hack the loop. You find the cue that kicks it all off. You figure out the reward your brain is really craving, and then you just swap out the middle part, the routine, with something better. You keep the cue, you keep the reward, but you change the action.
Let's use a super common one, late night snacking. So the cue, maybe it's when your favorite TV show ends. The old routine, walking to the fridge. But what's the reward you're really after? It's probably not just the food. Maybe it's just a feeling of closure for the day. So what if you swap the routine? Instead of the fridge, you make a cup of herbal tea or drink a glass of water. You still get that reward, that feeling of satisfaction, but you've rewired the whole loop. See how that works?
So when you put this all together, what does it mean? It means that understanding this loop, this simple science of how your habits work, it's like getting the owner's manual for your brain. It's a total game changer.
Suddenly, habits aren't just these things that happen to you anymore. They're not your destiny. They can be changed. You can go from being a passenger just along for the ride to being the architect of your own behavior. You're in the driver's seat. And that really just leaves one last question. A question for you. Now that you know the blueprint, now that you have the tools, what's the first habit you're going to design?